Okay. What did he say?
Bob, thank you so much. You may be seated. Let me just say why Bob was up here. He has just recently celebrated his 90th birthday. And for his 90th birthday, since he likes to do wild things, he flew an airplane. And there is a video of it. It's listed in your monthly newsletter that just came out. Take a look at it. If you're anything like me, it'll scare the living H out of you. But Bob said he wasn't one bit scared. I'm just not going to go up there and do that. We've got a number of guests with us today. I'm going to let our speaker introduce her guest, but we have a inter-club visit from the Midtown Club. And could I have everyone from Midtown Kiwanis Club to stand up, and one of you introduce your members, please.
Okay, we're very happy to be here today. Doug Bogey, past Lieutenant Governor, past President of our club. Blake Phillips, also past President of our club. Boyd Dimick, a past President of our club. I'm Johnny Glover, past President of our club. Kathleen McAtee, who ran our treasury as long as we've been alive. Did I miss anybody? Great, we're great. We love being here. We have about 22 of us total, about 10 or 12 that come every week. We meet up at Milton's on the second and fourth Wednesday of each month. Thank you.
We appreciate you being with us today. Thank you so very much. And don't get excited. Our club is not paying for their lunch. They are, and we appreciate y'all doing that. Charlie Sawyer, you have a guest today. Got a mic coming to you.
It's a pleasure to have my daughter, Amanda Holliday, who's a professor at UNC, join us for lunch today.
Thank you. And Amanda, you told me when you came in that you have been his guest before, but at the time you were a little smaller than you are now. In age, I meant in age, I didn't mean it that way. You were younger than you are now. But we're glad, okay, all righty. Thank you so very much. We're glad to have you with us. Let me introduce the chairman of our committee. Where's it? There he is. There's Robert Cooper back there. He's chairman of our committee on membership, and he's going to announce our membership award winner.
Okay, Scott, if everybody brought in one new member, we double our club, right? So anyway, we've had a contest, and I'd like to ask Sanford Bailey and Meredith Little to join me up here. I'll start with me. I brought in one new member, Roger Smith. Stand up. He's a corporate member of Air Experts. It's his company. Okay. Sanford, introduce your member.
My new member is not here today, but his name is Mike Scortino. He's visited with us 3 or 4 times, I guess. He's an NC State graduate, civil engineering and architecture. He used to work with S.T. Wooten Corporation. That's where I first knew him. And now he works with Summit Consulting Engineering, doing a lot of work for DOT subcontract work. But he lives in Wake Forest with his wife, who just retired from DOT, and has 2 children, one daughter that teaches chemistry down at Barton College in Wilson, and then he has a son who works, I think, with the Navy down in eastern North Carolina in one of the aerospace operations.
Thank you. So he had one new member. Meredith had 2 new members, and she won the Angus Barn gift certificate. Would you, yeah?
It was not my goal to be in this race or win anything, but I'm happy to accept it. But I'm really happy that because of this, we have 4 amazing new members to the club, but 2 that I can take responsibility for. One of them is sitting over there. It's Kim Blackwell, who was inducted just, December? Right there. And the other one just walked in the door, Allison Gillis, our newest member, who we are very excited to have and learn more about. And she will be officially in the club, I believe, in 2 weeks' time is what we're planning on. Yeah, so yay, thank you, but we're lucky to have all of them, so it's great.
I want to present Meredith with a $250 Angus Barn gift certificate. Keep up the good work.
Robert, we appreciate that very much. I've got a couple of membership welfare items. Congratulations to Jefferson Griffin and his wife, Kate, on the birth of a second child, Ann Griffin. So if you see him, please congratulate him. Congratulations to Frances Bobby, one of our past presidents. She retired at the end of the year. And also being retired, I know that was a big red letter date in her life. I just mentioned that Bob Goodell celebrated his 90th birthday since we last met. And Courtney Allen's husband, Jeff, is doing well following a successful bone marrow transplant. So let's give a round of applause for all of those. Does anybody have any other membership welfare items? If not, let me see if, do you have the birthdays available to be on the screen? The birthdays are on the screen. Take a look at these we'll just take a look at the ones that are very close to us. Robert Cooper, you were New Year's baby. We appreciate you being here. David Beasler on the 4th. Tommy Manning on the 4th. Bob Phoenix on the 7th. And Alan Fromm on the 9th. Let's give all of them a round of applause and wish them a happy birthday. And now let me call on Hamp Fields to do a memorial resolution.
This memorial resolution in honor of recognition is of Janet Lynn Radecki Mickles. Whereas Janet Lynn Radecki, Jan Mickles, daughter of Casimir and Monica Radecki, was born on August 10th, 1938 in South Bend, Indiana, and died on September the 19th, 2022 at age 84 in South Bend. And whereas Janet Lynn Radecki Mickles graduated from South Bend Central High School and Indiana University, South Bend, she worked in the fashion industry at Saks Fifth Avenue and Robertson's department store prior to spending most of her career as a tax accountant and corporate controller. And whereas Janet Lynn Radecki Mickles enjoyed traveling, sunshine, and being on the water, she was a master at trading stocks and word games. She will be remembered mostly for her sharp wit and as a loving and attentive mother, grandmother, aunt, and friend. And whereas Janet Lynn Radecki Mickles was one of the first female members of the Kiwanis Club of South Bend, and she joined the Kiwanis Club of Raleigh, North Carolina in 1992. She was an active, dependable, valued Kiwanis member, and she maintained a senior membership in her retirement years, living in Florida, Michigan, and Indiana. She enjoyed volunteer work, serving at a hospital, at a food pantry, and as a guardian ad litem. And whereas Janet Lynn Radicki Mickles was predeceased by her brother, Ralph Radicki, she was survived by her children, Joseph Mickles, Melinda Evans, and Greg Mickles, 2 daughter-in-laws, Beth and Adrian, a son-in-law, Robbie, 2 sisters, Barbara Chimmel and Ruth Wilson, a brother, Rick, 7 grandchildren, and several nieces, nephews, and in-laws. In her memoirs, Jan reminded her family members to, and I quote, "Promise me to know your worth, keep your hopes, live with happiness, and think of me and smile." And whereas Janet Lynn Radicki Mickles was a loving person who opened her heart and offered sound advice and counsel to her friends, to her family, and to the members of the Kiwanis Club of Raleigh, North Carolina, who recognize her as a suitable role model for any citizen who seeks to make a positive impression among his or her family and to leave the community a better place than he or she found it. And whereas the Kiwanis Club of Raleigh, North Carolina, desires to recognize, honor, and emulate the life of Janet Lynn Mickles and the quality of the relationships she built. Therefore, be it resolved that the Kiwanis Club of Raleigh, North Carolina, hereby memorializes the life of a loyal member, Janet Lynn Radicki Mickles, celebrates her career, and commends to all a life well lived and a demonstrated dedication to her family, to her friends, to her church, and to her community. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be spread upon the minutes of the Kiwanis Club of Raleigh, North Carolina, and be it finally resolved that a copy of this resolution be provided to her family as an expression of the affection and respect of the Kiwanis Club of Raleigh, North Carolina, for its member, Janet Lynn Radicki Mickles, adopted unanimously by its membership this, the 5th day of January 2024.
We hope it'll be adopted unanimously. Do I hear a motion to adopt this motion? I've got the motion. I've got a second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you so much, and we will put that in our minutes. Sure.
Dr. Jeff Gerdes, he owns a chiropractic practice about a quarter of a mile from here, and I wish everybody would come by after the meeting and meet him. We have an application on him, so Jeff Gerdes.
Jeff, we're happy to have you. I'm sorry I overlooked you just a minute ago. Thank you. We look forward to having you and having you as an active member. Let me call on our treasurer at this time for a report on the survey that was recently completed by members. I got somebody outside to throw you back in here.
So Catherine, with the Midtown Club, you're treasurer, right? And you've been doing it for a long, long time. Nobody wants to be treasurer, isn't that right? So I was talking to Boyd, and she said, "Weren't you president of this club?" I said, "Yeah, I kind of like to start at the top and work backwards." So, all right, so today, this is going to be very brief. I just want to go over some of the results from the budget survey. These aren't all the results. We don't have the time to go through every single question you guys went over, but I just want to cover the broad, more important issues, and so that's what we're going to do. First, I want to let you know who completed the survey. I wish we had more participation in the survey. We only had 85 members respond. That's 48% of our membership. So I'm not sure what was going on with that, why we didn't have more participation, but it is what it is. Of those who participated, 52% of the members were 71 years or older. Actually, Buck called me yesterday and said, you emailed me and said, hey, I think you got that first one wrong. I think it was 52% of the members that were 20 to 30 years old responded. I said, that can't possibly be correct because we only got maybe one of those. 21% of the members were 61 to 70, and about 12% were 51 to 60 years old. 60% regularly attend meetings. Well, if you think about 48% did the survey, that makes sense, right? Because really only about 60% actually come to these meetings. So I think that maybe makes a little bit more sense. And I think that's always been the case. I mean, we've got 175, 180 members. We usually have about, 60 to 65 people now. Back in the day when we had 250 members, there were 100 and some that roughly 100 that would attend. So that's not unusual. Just under 40% of us joined Kiwanis for personal fellowship and meals. 34% joined because they wanted to help kids in the community. But 54% believe helping kids in the community is the biggest draw or the reason people join Kiwanis. So even the people that join for fellowship and meals feel that the reason to join is to help kids in the community. So that just want to give you a kind of a broad brush of who responded. When it comes to club speakers, almost 85% of the respondents gave our speakers a rating of 4 or 5 out of 5. 75% of our respondents prefer speakers from the government and the business community. And there were lots of other types of speakers, but those were by and large the ones most people enjoy hearing from. Charter night. We've talked a lot about charter night, the cost of charter night. We asked in the survey if you were required to pay $165 per couple out of your pocket to attend charter night, would you still attend? Almost 60% said probably not. Probably not. Would probably not attend charter night if they were asked to pay $165 to cover the cost for a couple. Now, 86% of the respondents would be willing to replace charter night and move its functions to meal burning night if it saved the club money and if the event cost was included as part of the membership benefit. So in other words, if you don't have to pay anything extra out of your pocket, you would not oppose to having those events combined and having the event at meal burning night. Charter night events, Kiwanian of the year primarily, that kind of thing can be held at meal burning night. By the way, I should have prefaced all this. The board has not met. We meet next week and we'll take all of these findings under consideration. There's been no discussion whatsoever about the avenue we're going to go. Meals. 75% of the respondents indicate that having a meal during weekly club meetings is important to them. They gave it at least a 4 or a 5 on a 5-point scale. 54% of the respondents, and this is for our Meadow folks, 4 or 5 rating out of 5 stars. And I want to say something about the Meadow in just a minute. 82% of the respondents indicated that they would be willing to pay as you go for meals. So in other words, if we didn't have meal costs included in your quarterly dues, you would just pay out of pocket as you came to meetings and enjoyed a meal. And 72% would not be deterred with a $15 to $20 meal charge. Venue. We talked a lot about venue. We pay rent to be in this wonderful facility. The rent has been steady for years. It's a good deal, and this is a wonderful venue. 54% of you who answered the survey prefer to keep the venue here at Highland United. 36.5% have no preference whatsoever. Dues. 43.5% prefer to raise dues up to $165 a quarter, which would cover meals, Kiwanis International dues, district dues. It would not cover the cost of social functions. So the charter nights, the Millbirdie nights, the spring social at Durham Bulls ballpark would not cover any of that. It would cover your international district dues and cover the meals, $165 a quarter. 43.5 said they would prefer that. 27.1% prefer lowering the dues to $100, which would include spring social, a combined charter night, Millbirdie night. It would include your Kiwanis International and district dues, but it would not cover meal costs. Those would be out of pocket. And 12.9% said they prefer the lowest possible dues structure, one that would just cover the Kiwanis International and district dues, and everything else is paid out of pocket. Okay, that's it. I want to go back to meals. First of all, I talked to Taylor, who's been coming here faithfully almost every week, delivering wonderful meals. And Taylor has informed us that the Meadow is no longer going to be able to cater these weekly gatherings. So we're going to have to make a change at some point. But before we even consider that, I just want to say thank you to Taylor and Meadow. You guys have done a fantastic job. I told Taylor years ago, I was here when we were making the change to a new caterer, and we looked at Meadow, we looked at the Forks restaurant. There was another one I can't remember, and I told him, I said, what won it out for them was that row of desserts on the table back there. That put them completely over the top. But Taylor, thank you so much. Taylor has said that he's going to try to stick around for a couple weeks or so while we look for a replacement. So he'll be here next week and the week after, and so the board will get moving on that soon. But the board meets next Tuesday, I believe. We'll take all this into consideration. At some point, you'll get an announcement about any proposed changes that may need a club vote in the way of things like dues increases or decreases, whatever it may be. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much for that. And yes, we will have a board meeting on Tuesday night at 5:30 at John's office. So if you're on the board, it's important that you be at this meeting. It's very important to us. To introduce our speaker, June Small, our president-elect. And let me tell you, she is doing a bang-up job finding speakers for us, and we appreciate it very much. You told me I'd get a high five if I said that.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm here to introduce our speaker, Leah Strom. She's a Senior Development Manager with the American Cancer Society in Central and Eastern North Carolina. She manages two significant fundraisers for the Society, the Pinehurst Golf Classic and the North Carolina Discovery Ball. She has spent nearly 10 years working with various nonprofit organizations. She graduated from the University of North Carolina at Asheville with a degree in mass communication. She and her husband, Andrew, foster dogs with Freedom Ride Rescue. And she also works for a faith-based organization that supports women experiencing unexpected pregnancies. The topic that she's going to have today is the mission, the impact, and the volunteer opportunities with the American Cancer Society. And I thought I'd just share one sort of personal thing. I understand that if she won the lottery, she would want to go and buy a farm and raise and have 100 dogs. So that gives you an idea about who Leah is. So thank you, Leah, for joining us.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank you all for inviting myself and our Executive Director, Richard Averett, to be here this afternoon. It is a pleasure, and Happy New Year to you all. It's so exciting to be here for the first meeting of 2024. So I'm just going to talk with you a little bit about what the American Cancer Society does, what our impact is in the community, and as well as how you all can get involved and support our mission. But before I go into all of that, I had the pleasure of meeting some of you before I came up here, and I just wanted to start off by asking if you feel comfortable just raising your hand if you are a cancer survivor yourself. Okay, so quite a few hands in this room, and I think if you were to go into any room, there would be a lot of hands that go up. And that is why Richard and I and the rest of my colleagues at the American Cancer Society do what we do every day, because there are millions of survivors living today, and there will be millions more, and we need to be here to support them, as well as eventually be able to hear the words that cancer is no longer something that we have to deal with, that no one ever has to hear the words, you have cancer again. So I'll just get started here. So this is from 2023, because we do something every year called Cancer Facts and Figures, which is a really wonderful resource available on cancer.org that goes into very specific details about all the statistics in terms of expectations for diagnosis, for deaths, as well as the occurrence rate for different types of cancers. So in 2023, it's estimated that about 1.9 million Americans would have heard the words "you have cancer," including here in North Carolina about 67,000. So there's a lot of work to be done. And every year we are very fortunate at the American Cancer Society to impact the lives of about 55 million people through our work. So this is our vision to end cancer as we know it for everyone, and very strong emphasis put on for everyone. Something that is very important, it's just woven into the culture of the American Cancer Society, is inclusion. And that makes sure that everything that we do is equitable for every person. Because if people don't have the same opportunity to detect, treat, and survive cancer, then we can't achieve our mission of ending cancer. And of course, our mission is to improve the lives of people with cancer and their families through advocacy, research, and patient support. So someone asked me a really insightful question before I came up here, and that's, do we focus on a specific cancer type? And we don't. We focus on every cancer and every life, and that is one of the things that separates us from other cancer organizations. There are plenty of very worthwhile, wonderful organizations doing important work. We do not focus on a specific cancer type. We support every single one. So just some interesting things for you to know. We are the #1 trusted source for cancer information. If you are ever dealing with a diagnosis or a loved one is and you have questions, you can go onto cancer.org and type in the type of cancer that you have a question about, and there will be a wealth of resources. We also have a 24/7 helpline available to anyone, anytime, 365 days a year. I always try to share that resource because it's too frequently that I talk to people who have gone through cancer and they didn't know about that resource. So if you would like to get that number, please grab a card from me, and it's on the back. And so we've been working as the American Cancer Society for 110 years. We're actually celebrating that anniversary this year. We are 1.5 million people strong, and what that means is that we have 1.5 million people who support our mission between volunteers and staff around the country. And then since 1991, our work has seen a 33% decline in cancer mortality, and that is absolutely something to celebrate. So this is just some information about our 110 years. So we've had breakthrough wins in research, making life better for patients and their families, and 110 years of making real positive change for those who are dealing with cancer and their families. This is a lot, so I'm not going to go through all of it, but I'm happy to send out this presentation if any of you would like to see this after. So just some research highlights, because that is one of the major things that the American Cancer Society does. We are the largest non-governmental, nonprofit funder of cancer research, and we're very proud of that. We have actually funded 50 Nobel laureates, which is absolutely incredible, and we're very proud. Since 1991, we've invested $3 billion in cancer research, and that has contributed to 3.5 million fewer cancer deaths in that time. So now I'm going to get into some of the ways that you all can get involved and some of the things that we do in this community to support those going through cancer research. So it's probably not something that you would think about, but the number one barrier to care that people experience when they are going through cancer treatment is actually transportation. If you can't get to your appointments, if you can't get to your treatments, then you can't get better. And so in our studies, we've found that that's the number one barrier. So we developed the Road to Recovery Volunteer Program. And this is a fantastic program that anyone can be involved in. We have it right here in the Triangle. It is back up and running since we had to take a hiatus with COVID. You can actually sign up, you go through a training process. Of course, there's lots of security involved, and you can actually take patients directly to their treatment at Duke, at UNC, if you live in other areas such as Greensboro, Wake Med, that kind of thing. So we do need volunteers to sign up for this. So if you would like to learn more information about this, please come see me after. I'd be happy to share details about that. The other thing that we have to support people going through cancer is the Hope Lodge. And here in North Carolina, we are fortunate to have the Greenville Hope Lodge, which is in Greenville, North Carolina. So patients that go to Vidant Medical Center can stay completely free of charge at the Hope Lodge with a caregiver or loved one. It is a very beautiful space. It was intentionally designed to feel like a home. So when you walk in, it has a very warm feeling. There's a piano and there's a volunteer that comes to play the piano every day for the patients. And there is actually a communal kitchen that is this large space with 4 separate kitchens where families can all cook together and have fellowship together as they're going through probably the most difficult experience of their lives. So just some statistics about that. We've collectively across the country, we provided 500,000 nights of free lodging. 29,000 cancer patients have been able to be served per year, and we've saved $55 million in costs. I think you can imagine if you have to travel to go to your treatment, you're already going through a stressful time with the financial restrictions from your healthcare costs, but then to also have to pay attention to, oh, now I need to get a hotel room. And we also have a partnership with, Richard, I'm gonna forget the name of the hotel that we have it with. Yes. What? No. We have a partnership with a local hotel chain across the country where people can actually go and stay at this hotel in case there's not a Hope Lodge near to them, and I'll think of that later. So some other things that happen here in Central Eastern North Carolina are we have the Relay for Life. Who's been to a Relay for Life in the room? Okay, well, hopefully next year more hands will go up. So April 6, 2024 is going to be our next Relay for Life of the Triangle. This has been around for over 35 years. It's a beautiful way for people to come together and honor loved ones, celebrate survivors, and just fellowship together and have a really fun time. This year we're doing something different, and we're actually going to have a 5K, and we're moving from downtown Raleigh to the Fenton in Cary, which has been a wonderful partner for us for a lot of different things. And in terms of volunteer opportunities for that, you can sign up to be a team captain, you can join a team, you can help us with setup, you can join a committee to help plan the events. There's really an opportunity for everyone to be involved with that. And this is my event next, the Discovery Ball, North Carolina. So this is our Black Tie Gala that takes place in the spring every year. This year it will be on March 15th at the Pavilion at the Angus Barn. They do a wonderful job for us there. It's a beautiful event, and we will be honoring a cancer survivor here from the community on that evening, and our event does raise money for cancer research. Last year was our first year, and we were fortunate to raise $250,000 to support cancer research, and we highlighted a wonderful, beautiful woman and her family who is a 2-time breast cancer survivor. And I know, obviously, the Kiwanis is all about helping children, so I wanted to be sure that I also highlighted our Goal Together campaign. So Goal Together is our campaign for childhood cancer research. So it empowers individuals to raise funds that directly support childhood cancer research. The wonderful thing and a testament to the kind of mission of the American Cancer Society is this was actually started by a childhood cancer survivor. His name is Cole Eicher. He's from Southeast Florida, and he saw a need, and so he actually started this campaign, and his mother now works for the American Cancer Society, and I'm fortunate enough to partner with her for Goal Together. So it is a just fantastic thing. I was able to, at my golf tournament, meet a little girl named Sarah Beth, who is from this area. She's 4 years old, and she is battling inoperable brain cancer. And I wish I had thought to put a photo of it, but I'll have to send it out to June later. When she came to our golf tournament to share her story with her mom, we gave her a gold cape, and she walked around giving out gold ribbons to all of the golfers at our event. And it was just honestly one of the highlights of my career was seeing that just every single person be touched by this little girl and her faith and her optimism, and it was just infectious. So the other thing that we have is Making Strides Against Breast Cancer. That takes place in October. It will also be at the Fenton on October 28th. And when you come to this, you will never forget the event. It is a sea of pink. It is a sea of breast cancer warriors, and it is one of the most incredible experiences. If you ever have the opportunity, I hope that you will attend, because it is just, it's not just empowering, it is just fun. People are so excited to be there, and every single person is fully convinced that we have the ability to end breast cancer. And maybe it's next year, maybe it's the year after, but every year we raise money for breast cancer through Making Strides. All right, any questions? Okay, well, I'm gonna invite do you have a question? Yes, that's a great question. We do have a goal. So we have grants that we fund every year. And so those are oftentimes multi-year grants. So we know how much money is needed to fund all of those grants. And so they kind of look internally at how much money we've actually committed to funding and research. And then they back that out in terms of Central Eastern North Carolina, the Southeast region, and then even further down to each event. So yes, each event. So for my event, for the North Carolina Discovery Ball, our goal is to raise $315,000 this year. Okay, I'm going to introduce Richard Averett. He is the Executive Director of the Central and Eastern North Carolina area. He celebrated 1 year in October, and he is actually from the business community as well, but he spent so much time volunteering for nonprofits, he figured he might as well come work for one. Richard?
Thank you, folks. Again, my name is Richard Averett. I'm the Executive Director for American Cancer Society of Central and Eastern North Carolina. I always tell people from Winston to Wilmington's our footpath. Thank you for having us here. Really appreciate it. When Leah told me we were going to be here, it excited me. I got excited in a couple ways. Number one, my grandmother attended this church. And the last time I was here, in fact, is when we laid her to rest. But she lived on Lewis Farm Road. She was one of the first houses there. And I think since she's passed, it's been flipped a couple of times, if you can imagine what happened, here in Raleigh. So, but the other reason I was excited because I know how important Kiwanis is in the community. Now, I'm in another service club, starts with an R. I don't want to get thrown out, but there are a lot of the same cadence, a lot of the same meeting structure, but the common denominator between service clubs is serving the community. And it's encouraging to see people gather together, especially since post-COVID, to see so many people together in a room. So thank you for this opportunity. Leah did a wonderful job laying out what we do. If I kind of put a circle around it, is a question we get asked a lot is, where do the dollars go? Do they stay local? Because the American Cancer Society, we've been around 110 years. We're this large organization. And sometimes I think people think we're a brand almost. And people ask me, where do the dollars go? Do they stay local? And I basically tell the same thing that Leah talked about our navigation line. It's a 1-800 number that anyone can call anytime and ask a question about cancer. And it's interesting, that phone number gets the most calls between 12 a.m. and 6 a.m. And the thought process is, you're at the doctor, you or your spouse or someone's been diagnosed with cancer, you wake up in the middle of the night and say, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? And Leah shared with me, actually, this number has over 200 languages it's available. So Those is where the dollars go. The Hope Lodge, Leah was talking about, that's where our local dollar goes. And anybody within a hour footprint of Greenville can stay at no charge. And some people describe it as a hotel. I say it's more like a bed and breakfast because it's a more warm and welcoming community. And one thing also advocacy. We have a division called ACS CAN, which is about advocacy and supporting cancer rights. And one big win for us was Medicaid expansion. That was last year, where 600,000 North Carolinians will finally have access to health care. And we were behind that. We were on the front lines. And that was a big win for organizations. So again, that's where our dollars go. And our mission is to end cancer as we know it for everyone. And we certainly appreciate this opportunity. Volunteering is very important. You know, volunteering is a privilege of time. And we are very grateful if you would spend your volunteer time with us. And thank you again for this opportunity.
Let me say some positive things about the American Cancer Society. First of all, they did their presentation in record time and got out of here without going over that 12:30 click. If you can help them, please help them either by volunteering or by a contribution. We also invite them to apply for a grant from our Kiwanis Foundation, which is open to grants each year. Is there any other business to come forward? Next week, we have George Smart with U.S. Modernist. I believe he's an architect, if I'm correct about that. Correct? Okay, does something with building, okay. Modern architecture, okay. We're going to adjourn the meeting in memory of our member who is deceased, that the memorial resolution was read just earlier. If you'll please stand, bow, and remember our past member.